This is a public service announcement. This episode of Teach, Sleep, Repeat does not include a video. So if you're looking to see Hayden's bald head or Dylan's red face, you won't be able to this week. Hayden, I'm trying to do a thing. Where I sound like one of those, movie people at the start of a trailer.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll record it next time. Do you want to do it again?
No.
Oh, we'll have to use that one then.
It. Yeah, we are.
Oh, right, okay.
I'm going to use this as well, this whole conversation.
Are you not going to tell the people that the reason we're not filming is because we got Mrs. Smith?
I was going to. I was going to talk about Mrs. Smith and her anonymity because she's so funny on Facebook and she's got so many people who follow her but don't know what she looks like and she's maintained
but she wanted
years.
to come on our podcast and talk to us. Yeah. Okay, all right, fair enough. Okay, well, we haven't got time, so we'll just use that one. All right,
let's use that.
We'll skip to the intro. Skip to the intro.
Yeah. But no, wait. I'm just going to do my voice again.
Here's the intro.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Teach, Sleep, Repeat. My name is Dylan.
And my name is I'm Ill Again.
Yay, it's I'm Ill Again, man. Nice to see you, I'm Ill Again, man. How are you?
I'm ill, actually. I don't know if I've mentioned.
Are you?
Yeah, do you know what? I think in the last 8 episodes, I have been properly ill for at least 3 of them. What is wrong with?
Sorry, did you say system? 8 or 80? Because I don't. I'm getting this sense of you run on 10% the whole time that you're alive.
if we go to back 80, I reckon I've been ill at least 30. So I'll keep up the ratio. I don't know what's wrong with me. I just catch everything. Oh, yeah. Welcome, guys.
Yeah, it does stand out though because you were the one person who during COVID always constantly wanted to tell everyone you ever saw, because I was with you all the time, I've never had COVID either way, and you were just in the middle of coughing because you got something else.
Yeah. I didn't have COVID though, and I don't have it now.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, believe that. Never. Let's say. How's your week been, pal?
Although,
go on.
I can't smell. So
yeah. Okay. Oh, it's not COVID.
It's not COVID. Can't smell though.
Do you have the number one symptom of COVID? Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Weirdest sensation. I'm going to talk about it for a second. Weirdest sensation. Never had this before. I know, but a lot of people with COVID were talking about not being able to taste things and smell. But I have absolutely 0% smell now. Genuinely cannot smell anything. It's mad. And I did 2 ultimate tests. You know I hate cheese, right? I absolutely cheese is disgusting.
You didn't eat some cheese.
No, I didn't eat it. That's mad. That's next level. Oh. But I did. You know when if you've got cheese, I can smell it and it just puts me off my food, even in the next room.
Yeah.
I went up to a bag of chease from the fridge and
I went up to a bag of cheese. I'm sorry.
That sounds a little word.
It sounds like it's some it sounds like some kind of baddie, like in a video game. I went up to a bag of cheese, sitting in the corner, smoking a cigarette, looking hard.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did, and I thought, well, this will test my nostrils, and I put my face into the bag of cheese, and I took in the biggest inhale, and I smelt nothing, and I thought, okay, there is something wrong with my nose.
Has this been linked to your taste then? Have you noticed taste has changed? Because isn't smell and taste completely linked or something?
But my taste has gone down to 20-30%. I can sort of taste stuff, but it's really, really mild. Everything tastes a bit like cardboard. Yeah, very, very strange. So not having the best time.
Oh, I did want to say though, because yesterday we're on our second week now of half term, and we're recording this on technically the last day of half term, which is the Friday before we go back on Monday. And yesterday I had a fantastic day. Went for a lovely walk. With 3 babies, the 3 girls went out. Lauren, your Lauren, Amy, me and Jack, my mate. We went out, and it was just bloody lovely. And I was just wanted to say that there's something about a group of 5 where if there was just one extra person in that group, I don't know who it could have been, but if there was just one extra person who came with us, the whole dynamic would have shifted. It would have been awful. But such a good day. What did you do yesterday, pal?
Yeah, well, I was actually really looking forward to. I was going to go out with my mates. There was a group of 5. I got a group of 5 friends. Some of us got kids, and we were going to go out. But I couldn't because I was poorly. Although annoyingly, I wasn't as poorly. I felt fine yesterday, but I was still very snotty. So I didn't want to infect everybody just in case. God damn, so annoying.
Were those 5 friends happen to be me involved in? Oh, it was, no, and you stayed at home and did nothing. I think it was.
No.
I need everyone to know at home that you missed out because that was bloody lovely walk. And do you know what? It is linked with something I was going to say. So I was just contemplating. I was just thinking back over my week, because whenever we do this podcast, we always think, well, we need to chat about what we've been doing, basically, when we have our little I don't know what to call it at the start when we go into our detail of our lives. Oh yeah, the boring bit when no one listens to. We're going to do that bit. And I don't know. I saw a reel the other day by this guy called Charlie. He's the teacher's health coach, and he's doing a lot of reels and content at the minute. And it really got me thinking because he was talking about the difference between self-care and self-soothing. And I think he really hit the nail on the head because he said a lot of the traditional ways of looking after yourself, it's actually not self-care, it's self-soothing. It's like almost putting a plaster on and hoping that you feel better. And things that come under self-soothing would be, having a bubble bath, lighting a candle, sitting down and relax, that kind of thing. And his argument was, no, self-care is more important. And you can't call that stuff self-care. Self-care is forcing yourself to go out on a walk when you don't want to, and you end up feeling better after. Self-care is forcing yourself to reply to that email you've been putting off and no longer is lingering over you. And I just thought that is such a good point because that walk I went on yesterday, I was looking forward to having a walk for everyone. Jokes aside, you two, you couldn't make it, but that was a really nice thing I was looking forward to. But I've found in this half term, there's been a few days where like Rory's been unsettled and we've had to go out and I was like, right, I'm going to take him for a walk. And I've ended up going on a 2-hour walk. And to be honest, I probably would have rather just stayed in and watched my latest show on telly or, had a lovely bath or had all these self-soothing things. But do you know what made me feel better than anything was actually coming back from that 2-hour walk in the brisk, weather, the sunshine, getting the wind on my face. I ended up feeling better after. And I don't know, this idea of self-care versus self-soothing, where do you sit on there? Do you tend to do more self-care or more self-soothing? Because it seems like self-soothing is what's promoted, but not necessarily always what's actually best for you.
Well, does it count? So last night, for example, I want to know if this is self-care. Last night, I ordered 20 chicken McNuggets. And I only ate like 12 of them. Does that count as self-care or is that more like self-soothing?
I think that couldn't be more self-soothing if you try.
Yeah, because they're not that good for you, I suppose.
Yeah, and it's easy to just order some chicken nuggets and eat them. And that's hilarious because isn't it well annoying when you want some chicken nuggets and they only do obviously 6, 9 and 20 and it's like, well, I want more than 9.
Yeah, I want 12.
I want 12. Yeah, so do you buy 2 6s? No, because it costs more than buying 20. So you end up with just 20 chicken nuggets.
And they had a deal on last night. So it was like £5 for 20 nuggets. I was like, yes, I'll be taking that, please. Thank you. And even though they already taste like cardboard, I don't know why I ever get them. I get them about once a year to remind myself that they just taste rank. They already taste like cardboard, and then they tasted more like cardboard last night because I can't taste very well. So it was a complete waste of money and time and calories.
Have you tried eating some cardboard?
Apparently they taste like chicken nuggets, so I might do.
It might work like that.
Yeah. In all seriousness, though,
windows.
I like the I do like the whole self-care, self-soothe. I've never heard that before, but when someone says something, you're like, oh, that completely just makes sense immediately. Of course, there's a massive difference between actually caring for yourself and just soothing, making yourself feel better. Makes complete sense. I probably do a lot of soothing and think that I'm looking after myself. I'm notoriously terrible at self-care. I don't know what it is. I don't know about you, but I just have such a mental block. Any self-care, I'm like, it's a waste of time. I've got other stuff to do. I'm so bad. I don't know if it's like a classic, like stereotypical male culture thing, or if it's just me. I don't know.
I think it's a bit of both because, well, the impression I got from this, which is what I'm going to take away from it, and it was just a short reel. It's crazy how sometimes just a short reel really, really makes you think, doesn't it? But what I took away from this was that self-care isn't actually easy. It's not an easy thing to do. Self-soothing is quite an easy thing to do. Anyone can go and light a candle. Anyone can sit in a bath, but that isn't actually getting to the root of many of your problems. It might feel good at the time. Don't get me wrong. It's nice to put a nice candle on and actually relax for a minute, but that doesn't actually solve any of the problems you're actually trying to get away from. Because usually when you do that, it's because, oh gosh, I'm just putting off this work I've got to do, putting on this conversation I want to have. I need to sort out the laundry. I need to go and actually go downstairs and the kitchen needs tidying. All of that self-soothing doesn't actually solve any of the issues that are probably driving your anxiety.
So what does self-care look like as a teacher?
I don't know. I think self-care for a teacher, it is answering those emails, as soon as you get them. I found my personal life has, like, as a teacher in school, has felt much better when I bit the bullet and done small jobs. And again, this was something someone else said. I don't know who it was, but it really stuck by me. And I struggled to do it in my personal life, but I do think I tend to do it in my school life more now. I'm not perfect, but I do it more. And it's a very simple rule. If something takes 5 minutes or less, do it immediately. It's a very, very simple rule. So, for example, we get emailed every week by our deputy head to pick our learner of the week. And it will be pick your learner of the week, pick your reader of the week, and just put a quick explanation as to why. And that genuinely takes 2 minutes to fill out that form. And for a long time at the start of this year, I would just see that come through and I'd be like, oh, cool, that takes 2 minutes. I can do that whenever. That would be my attitude. And do you know what would happen? I'd never do it. I'd miss the cut-off and my class would go into assembly. Everyone would be getting their certificates. And I think this is brilliant for my deputy head, to be honest. It's on me. He'd say, oh, I didn't get it in time, and then that's the onus is on me, because my class would come back to me and go, where's the learner of the week? And I'd either have to do it late or I'd have to say, I'm sorry. And I'd have to face the class that way. But it takes 2 minutes to do. So now as soon as that email comes through, I do it immediately. And now the deputy head makes a joke that I'm the first to do it every single week. And do you know why? Because it takes less than 5 minutes. And I know, self-care might be a bit dramatic to say that's good for my self-care, but I think it's a representation of what self-care actually looks like as a teacher. It's those small jobs, just do them.
I think as a teacher, self-care is extremely linked to workload and work-life balance, isn't it, really? I'm not going to talk about it because we've talked about it a million times in this podcast. Go and listen to previous episodes if you'd like to hear more about workload. We've got episodes on it. But yeah, self-care as a teacher is being strict with work-life balance, I think, is probably number one way for self-care. Anyway, moving on. I've got a little story I want to share with you, if that's all right, because I don't know when the best time to do it in this episode is, because we're going to be talking to Mrs. Smith soon, and I really wanted to share this story this week. So you might remember a couple of weeks ago I had that story about a child in my class thinking that a baby cow is called a MILF. If you're listening to this thinking, what on earth, you need to go back and listen to that. It was hilarious.
They didn't see a picture of a baby calf and go, oh, that's a MILF. That's not the context.
They genuinely thought the name of a baby cow was a MILF. I think they got milk and calf confused or whatever. But it was hilarious because they didn't know what MILF was, and I'm glad. Anyway, so I was telling that story to a friend of mine, Mr. Wilmot, who we've had a couple of stories on, and we talked about the fact that he writes books and things last week. So I was chatting to him the other day, just catching up, and and he said that he listened to that story and it reminded him of this story. And I'm going to read out to you what he wrote to me now. So he said, the other day when I was at a school teaching music, I didn't know the kids because he's doing cover supply. So I started with a game of how many instruments can you name? Started with the obvious ones like guitar and piano. And once we'd been around the whole class, it just got a bit trickier. And then one kid was like, oh, I know one, a bong. and he was like, oh, sorry, what? Sorry? And he said, yeah, a bong, and was laughing. And he was trying to think of obviously what he meant, and also trying to move the conversation away from, getting high. It's not really appropriate in a primary school, thinking, okay, he's clearly, I don't know these kids. We must be thinking they're having me on or whatever. And then the kid, persisted with the bong and was like, no, yeah, those loud things that you hit, a bong. And he was like, oh, a gong. Oh, crikey. Yeah, a gong. Okay, a gong. Just really made me laugh.
That kid's like treating musical instruments like they're Pokemon. They can just say the name. That's what they can do. What sounds make? Bong.
Yeah. At least it was close. Oh, let's
play the toot-toot,
I love how
innocent.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks for the story, Matt. And just a quick plug: if you have any stories, if you're listening, you're a teacher or not a teacher, I don't know, and you've got a funny story you'd like to share, then please do write into us, because firstly, it makes us laugh and we love laughing, and secondly, we might even share it on the podcast and make everybody else laugh with your story. Dylan, where can people find us and how do they write to us?
Get us on Instagram at Teach Sleep Repeat Podcast. I'm loving Instagram at the minute. I'm loving it. So I absolutely, that's actually an absolutely into one there. I absolutely love it when people message us on Instagram. I genuinely, I don't know what it is. I get a little buzz because number one, people are just so kind. There is something about people saying what you're doing is great. I love the fact I found your podcast. It's really funny, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, Hayden, you don't see it as much as I do. It just rolls in. It's genuinely, it makes this all worthwhile for me anyway. For you, you're here because I forced you to. But if just get in touch on Instagram and follow us on Instagram, that's the place to be. I try and do stories as much as possible to get some interaction. I'll do some polls that are funny. I'll do some polls that are genuine when I'm trying to get some information from you guys that will help us feed the podcast, etc. And yeah, I don't know how much you actually pay attention to our podcast, to our Instagram, sorry, Hayden, but I'm also entering the world now of trying to make some reels that aren't just, those those crappy little green screen memes that I've been making that somehow hit the algorithm and get like millions of views. Because okay, cool, I'll do that for a bit because it'll keep ticking over. But I've been trying to do some real life memes as well. I don't know if you've seen any of them.
I've seen. Yeah, I've seen. Yeah, it's cool. I like them. I think they're funny.
Oh, I thought you were gonna rip me a bit there. I was getting ready to be
funny
defensive.
in a bad way.
Idiot. But yeah, no. Once you get over that initial, almost like awkwardness of, oh, I'm doing a meme and it's me. They're actually really fun to come up with.
Once you accept that they're completely cringe, it's fine.
Yeah,
because you just you've accepted that they're horribly cringe,
and you're leaning into comedy.
Sort of thing.
Yeah, it's meant to be funny, so that's fine. If I was doing really serious reels, but I was also being an idiot, then it might be a bit more
like that guy that cries, like really cries on the. Oh man, I won't go into it.
What, the actor? You mentioned it now. Let's mention it. He just.
I can't remember his name though, so I would call him out because I find his videos really funny. But yeah, he pretends to be. People just buy it all the time. They think he's acting for real, and he's just not. He's just going over the top.
Right, Hayden. We are coming towards the end of our little chat here. Is there anything else you wanted to mention before we introduce our esteemed guest this week?
No. Let's get into it. Let's talk to the wonderful Mrs. Smith. Guys, if you haven't checked out Mrs. Smith, you can find her on Facebook. I'm sure I mentioned it a million times in this conversation that we had a couple of weeks ago, as you'll soon find out at the start of this chat, right at the beginning. In fact, right at the end of the school term. So yeah, let's talk to Mrs. Smith, and it's a blast. It's a great conversation. So I hope you enjoy it, guys. Hello, Mrs. Smith. Welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you very much. Especially as it's now the end of term, so I'm
getting there.
I'm absolutely glorious. You've got a beer, and that's it. Well away.
Absolutely. So, just for context, because this will probably come out in a couple of weeks, we are recording this on the last day of term, right before the Easter holidays.
Is anyone else feeling terrible, like ill? I feel like there's an illness going around. I feel so gunky.
Yeah. How are you feeling, Mrs. Smith? So, I presume you've been at work today.
Yeah. I feel fine, actually. I'm not going to say whether I have or haven't avoided things, because that's always a kiss of death. But I feel at the moment, this moment in time, I feel perfectly fine. Thank you very much.
Oh, brilliant. Well, thanks so much for coming on the pod. We have been fans of your Facebook page for ages, as a lot of people have. I'm sure a lot of people listening right now have come from your Facebook page, so we really appreciate you coming here. Sorry to a technical glitch, everyone listening, because the camera's not working for Mrs. Smith, so I'm afraid you can't see her, which is a real shame, because I know that's what you all came for. Yeah. So tell us very quickly, before we go into a bit about you, what have you got planned for this Easter holidays? Are you going to rest?
I'm going to rest for the first bit, but for the second half, I'm actually on tour, which is a bit weird for me, really. So I'm going to East Anglia, and I'm doing one show in the sort of south of London, and then I'm going to East Anglia, and I'm doing 8 shows.
Wow.
So I'm doing 4 days.
We need to talk about this.
In different places, yeah, but each show, because they sold out so quickly, I'm having to double up. So I'm doing
just slip that in there.
8 shows.
I love that.
I
love that. I'm so popular, guys. I do even more. But I need to talk about this, because obviously we talked about your Facebook page briefly. The reason it's so popular and why we love it is because we like to have a laugh. And your humor is just so on point. And these shows you're doing, they're stand up, right? So do you have kind of a crossover? Do you talk about school a lot? Is it about life in general? Like, what's the kind of thing you actually discuss when you're doing your shows?
Oh, it's really very much education based stand up. So it's all stories about schools, not stories about kids. It's stories about schools and what it's like to be in school. Probably mostly aimed at people who, mind you, everyone's been to school, haven't they? So for the most part. So it's either if you've been at school. If you're in school now, not kids, obviously adults, if you're in school as an adult now, that's really what it's for. Certainly wouldn't bring anybody under the age of 18. Certainly no one I might have taught.
Yeah, your ex-pupils turning up. This one's not about you. Yeah, brilliant.
Except it probably
yeah, it's fine. You just don't tell them. Well, for the listeners that maybe don't know who you are, haven't checked out your Facebook page yet, maybe you could just give us a bit of background on yourself. So I'd like to know, what even made you start that Facebook page in the first place? Because it's, a lot of people find it extremely funny now. But when did that begin?
Oh, I think a bit. Well, I started writing bits and pieces, and I've always written. But I started writing bits and pieces that were about school, and I shared them with some friends, and I actually wrote them down in a notebook and shared them with them. And they said, "Can I give these to my friends to read?" And I thought, I'm not copying that out. How many 6 times, so you can show it to your mates. And then I thought what I would do was write. Then I tried to send it to them electronically, but teachers aren't that good with zip files sometimes. So then I decided, well, I would write a blog, and that was just a bit clunky, and then no one could ever find them. And then I realised that women of a certain age are all on Facebook, so that's where I needed really to put the page. And I discovered that I could create one that was anonymous, with a false name, but play the game. So I did that.
Yeah.
And I wrote one post about the school holidays that went completely and utterly viral. I mean, 1 million views.
Wow.
And
Do you remember that
I
post?
went from having, I think, something like 50 followers
Yeah.
who were my mates at school to thousands.
When was that, out of
Yeah.
interest? Was that was it? Are we talking years ago?
That was, I suppose, about 6 or 7 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, 6 or 7 years ago, and it sort of pootled along, and then it sort of exponentially grew. I suppose a friend shares it with a friend, she shares it, and then it's just gone to where it is now.
Well, at the time of
So
recording this, you're approaching 70,000 followers on Facebook, which is really, really impressive. So a lot of people interacting. And
if only my class knew.
So I wanted to ask this: did they have no idea? Because Hayden and I, we've dabbled in. We made some YouTube videos, but it's more like walkthroughs on how to do certain questions, and help. It's teaching basically, and our class will very much know about that and know that exists. So do your class is very much more adult rated, so it's a bit more of a problem maybe if they did find out.
Yeah.
Is there any kind of inkling, or any parents get involved ever, or do you ever have to broach that between, or have you managed to maintain that distance between your job and what you do outside?
Touch wood. There's a real difference between the person. Well, there's no difference between the person I am at school and the person I am online.
Yeah.
Except that Mrs. Smith is me on steroids with a swearier voice.
Yeah.
But no, there's a line between the two. So when I'm at school, I am the person I am at school, who's teaches the way I teach, and that's it. And then there's the person I am who's online, who's so it's really morphed into something that I didn't set out to be, an edutainer or an influencer at all. I set out to make my friends laugh, and this was the easiest way to do it. And I think as a byproduct of that, we've ended up touching a nerve and just building a community. Because sometimes I'll write one line that possibly is funny, maybe not, and then it comes back that everyone else, there are 150, 200 comments where people have joined in.
Yeah. That's what I was going to mention. Basically, is every time I see a post that you've done on Facebook, you do have this knack. Like you are also just a good writer, because you have this knack of kind of bringing me along on the journey. And then by the time it finishes and the punchline comes along and you say what happens, I'm like, that happened to me the other day. That's exactly. It's very relatable. So you must get that quite a lot, like with people who listen to you. And I don't know, who do you think your audience is online? Because like you mentioned there, obviously it's everyone went to school. So we all kind of have that shared memory, I suppose, of when we were in school. But do you get a lot of people? I'm interested in those people who aren't teachers, maybe, who still see your content and somehow relate to it still. Do you get a lot of that?
Yeah. I get a whole range of people who are within sort of education, from childminders right the way through to people who teach in further education universities.
Yeah.
But also there are people who are nothing to do, but they might have been on the PTA, so they've had a little bit more of or people who are in the police, or they're in medicine. The same sort of, it tends to be people who are working in jobs where you are people facing, where you're having to be with groups of people. And we all know that groups of people do random stuff. So that's exactly what, the fact is that I mostly talk about sort of somebody who's between the ages of 5 and 11 doing something random, whereas they might actually have the grown-up version of those people still doing the same random things because they haven't learnt that they shouldn't do.
Tell me a little bit about your glossary, because I was cracking up the other day reading through, because I was just scrolling through your page again, knowing that we were going to have a chat, and I thought I just want to have a little through the recent comments and posts. And your glossary of language and vocab.
It's my favourite thing I've read. It's so
just going to quiz you on a couple of things, if that's all right.
Or a quiz.
Yeah. So again, like, maybe people listening haven't seen this glossary before, and you use some funny language, such as knobservation. What's an observation?
Yeah, what could that be? I don't know.
So an observation is one of two things. Okay, it's either a straight observation, but it's done by a knob.
Yeah.
And we all know who those are. Or it's an observation where they say something really knobby.
Right, okay.
So they say something that's either completely out of your control. So your lesson was wonderful, but there was a man blowing leaves outside your window for the whole time.
Yeah.
So the children at the back couldn't hear. Not my fault. Or they say you would have been outstanding, but did you know that 2 of the children had to get up halfway through and sharpen a pencil?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
It's those. That's the difference. So knobservations are 2 different things, really.
So the ultimate knobservation would be observed by a knob and given knobby feedbacks.
And that often will happen because that's the way knobs are, really.
Yeah.
That's a knob observation.
Double. Yeah, brilliant. And one more, just because it makes me laugh as well. A learning stalk. I feel like this is the most relatable to me. This is the one when I saw it, I was like, everyone is going to relate to this.
Flashbacks. Yeah.
What's a learning stalk?
So a learning stalk is it's usually when the schools bought something expensive and they decide that everyone needs to implement it, but they haven't got time for a staff meeting. So what they do is they then do a learning stalk, tell everybody that there is an issue with everybody, and then say, haha, but we can solve it because we've spent all this money on this new thing, which we are now going to all do all at the same time.
Yeah.
That's a learning stalk.
And I think, I don't know, maybe we should do a poll. We always do a poll with our episodes, and I reckon our poll should be, have you ever had a learning stalk? Because I feel like, like we said, everyone will be like, yes, of course I have. Education is mental. And we will get on to maybe the politics of that in a bit. But yeah, if just again to the listeners, if you want to go and check out, just go to Mrs. Smith's Facebook page and find the full glossary because it is hilarious. I was going to share some more.
I want to mention one.
Okay, you got another
simply
one.
because it links to today, right? Because today was one of those days where we live, where if you walked outside, you would very much struggle to walk in a straight line because it was so windy.
Okay.
And I know for a fact, teachers up and down the land, when they wake up and step outside their front door, if the gusts are above a certain mile per hour, let's say even just 15 miles an hour, we're shaking our heads, but we're walking to our car like already like this with our heads in our hands. Can you explain to our listeners out there? I can't remember what it was called. Maybe you could enlighten us. Something to do with the wind. Something to do with the wind going on and behaviour.
Well, you may have to bleep this, but yes, windy day wankers is what we have. Really.
Do explain. When might you use that?
It's just people they're not in control of the idiocy that then happens around a windy day. So they seem to, anything that happens bypasses their brain. That's exactly. You just know that you are going to have someone who has done something utterly random and completely out of the ordinary. And the only explanation can be because of the wind.
Yeah.
Why are you climbing up the window? Oh, it's windy. Right. Obviously.
I actually remember like really early on in my career, someone, and I thought they were joking. Someone was saying to me, "Oh, it's a windy day today. The behaviour's going to be awful."
The moon. Full moon.
The moon, yeah.
And I remember thinking,
it's a real thing.
What are you talking? I was at NQT. I was like, what on earth are you on about? The moon's big. Like, okay. Like, oh wait. Then I had my class, and I was like, the moon. Something happens with the moon.
Yeah. Oh, there we are. I'm just interested actually because I don't know, how long have you been teaching?
Well over 35 years.
35 years. That's amazing. Incredible.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
We're coming up to a decade. So
that feels like 35 years.
Yeah.
You have no idea what 35 years feels like, Billy.
Yeah. But in your reflecting on your 35 years, because I don't think we've had any guests before that have as much experience as you in teaching. So just reflecting on it. When was the best bit? When was the peak time to be a teacher, in your opinion?
I don't know. I mean, I love doing it now. I mean, after 35 years, I don't think I would carry on doing it if I didn't really enjoy it. I mean, I think there are things that shouldn't have happened. There are people who should never ever have got their fingers, Michael Gove, I'm looking at you, on education.
Politics.
But
Yeah.
the most education secretaries are the gift that keeps on giving anyway. I mean, my page wouldn't have half the laughs it wouldn't if Gillian didn't keep opening her mouth and putting her foot straight in it.
Mm.
But I think, I think we just keep going. It's the children, and I keep going with the children. What the government do around it is sometimes neither here nor there, because
Yeah.
we just carry on doing what we do, and teaching is a tiny part of what I do. But all the other things that go on around it are the things that give me joy. So that really now.
Yeah, that's nice to hear.
Yeah.
I suppose I'm interested in. Obviously, we just joked about things like Knobservation and learning stalk, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel like, let's say, even I don't know, 20 years ago, just an arbitrary amount, but far enough back that not in the recent government,
Not in the Tory government.
not in the Tory government. Do you feel like Knobservations and learning stalks, those kind of things? Do you think they've always been a problem, or do you feel like that is part of the result of having people like Michael Gove and just rubbish governments coming in and changing the game a bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think there should always be accountability. So everyone should be accountable, and everyone should be doing their job to the best of their ability. I mean, that's absolutely, you want quality first teaching in front of children all the time. But
Yep.
I think sometimes some things are done, like observations, like learning stalks, in order to tick a box. So if you're just going into classes to say, yes, I have observed someone, that's a
Yep.
pointless activity. If you're going into a classroom having had a conversation with a fellow professional, and you say to them, what would you like me to look at in your teaching? And then together we can learn what we need to do next and where your CPD can come, then that's fine. And I think that's the difference. I think the difference has gone from carrying on our professional education by giving us observations and feedback to ticking a box. That's the difference.
I can't help but agree. I've only been in 10 years, but I've worked in different schools, and I think what you're saying is right in terms of we do have some control over it, because having worked in different schools, it's done so differently. There's not one way that every school in the country does things. So clearly there are individuals inside of schools rather than just whole government systems that are accountable for this kind of thing.
Yeah.
But what I'm really interested to get your opinion on is, especially in the context of the last few years, is the role of Ofsted as well, because I know Ofsted and the Department for Education aren't necessarily always singing off the same page, and one can kind of bat it off to the other as to a reason why something's happening. But the recent kind of, we're doing a big listen and we have a new person in charge and we're going to be here for change. And do you buy it? Do you think that it is going to reform? Do you think it needs to reform? Because I agree, we need to hold teachers accountable, but is the current way working, in your opinion?
What have you seen the form they want people to fill in?
I've not clicked on it because I'm just step away from it, honestly.
It's astonishingly badly worded, and it's also the questions are, there's a bias. There are boxes for you to write in, and I think people are writing in them. And I think that possibly towards the top, people have thought there needed to be a change, and they are prepared to listen. But I don't actually think they're going to be able to cope with the volume of answers whether they're actually able to change as much as they really need to.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sure you thought about this. Would there be something you would change straight away if you could? Would there be something you'd been off? Would you be a way of just that, this guy stepped in now. If you could have a direct line to him and say, look, change this. Is there one thing you'd put out there and say, okay, look, I think we should be doing that instead?
So I don't know have you ever come across challenge partners and the way that challenge partners works? So
I've not in detail, no.
Okay, so challenge partners is just as it's rigorous. It's just as rigorous. You are held to account in the same way, but it's done with a school and not to a school, and I think that's the big difference. So with challenge partners, they come in and observe lessons. They come and talk to members of staff, and you are asked to discuss the curriculum. It's exactly the same in that respect. But it is done in a supportive way. So you are told what is good. You are told what needs to be improved. And and how you can do that and how people will work alongside you in order for that to happen. So there isn't the same sort of off a cliff edge if there's
Yeah,
an issue.
yeah, that's really cool because we've actually done an episode before on Ofsted and reforming Ofsted, and we kind of came to the exact same conclusion. Our opinion is very similar in that we can't get rid of it. We can't have any no accountability.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. I don't think anyone really thinks that.
Education's too important to not have any accountability.
Yeah, but absolutely, it needs to be a better, a more holistic approach, doesn't it? We've got to be tackling
It's
this.
the support, like you said, like you just said right there. It's the support, because at the minute it's Ofsted coming in and saying that's not good enough. See you soon, and then right, thank you. Just you could ruin a career in that, and it might not be good enough. But you're absolutely right. If it's not good enough, actually, if you really truly care about the kids and their outcomes, if it's not good enough, then you don't leave afterwards. You stay and you sort it out with them. So I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I want to reflect on just another funny thing on your Facebook. There's very much linked to this because I was reading them the other day. You sent me actually all of them to look through, and it was your Dear Gillian series. Again, there's no point me sitting here and reading them all out, but people can go and check them out. But could you just give me a bit of insight? What made you start doing your Dear Gillian?
Oh, I wonder.
Series. Okay. What were you trying to get across in them? Because obviously they're very sarcastic and very funny. So
to be fair, it was Dear Gavin to begin with.
Yeah.
It started with Dear Gavin because really, honestly, he did need a lot of support to understand exactly. Because he wasn't selling too many fireplaces, was he? So he had to come in education. He needed a bit more support. So it started with him really because I just got so fed up with the fact that he obviously had absolutely no idea what on earth he was doing, and the issue is a number of those people in those offices never have been in a school unless they were 7, 8, or 9. And if they had gone to, very few of them have been to state school, so lots of them have been to prep school. So their view of what education is skewed in a particular way. And I just I thought I needed to explain to them, probably in words of not more than one syllable, often with pictures, exactly how it was going to affect the other members of staff and the children, because the children that we are working with are a whole different cohort than the children that either they had been to school with or their children go to school with.
Yeah.
The spectrum is different.
So
they just really needed a bit of support.
they
also
needed
they
that
do
differentiated sheet.
They do utterly ridiculous things, and someone needs to call them out on it.
Who was it recently? I can't remember. Who was it recently that said they were punched?
Oh, it was Gillian Keegan.
It was Gillian Keegan.
You must have seen that clip with Gillian Keegan where after a year and a half of teachers striking and talking about how Ofsted's not working, she managed to go on stage and say, I was in a school the other day and I was speaking to their teacher and I was really shocked because they told me that the Ofsted inspector was really rude. And there's me thinking shocked that, okay, anyway. And then she carried on and said, yeah, if it was me, I would have punched him in the face. Thanks for that. That's a great solution. I could teach our kids that.
Absolutely. Well, the trouble is, you see, that's what we've ended up with today, isn't it? We've ended up with in the news today, 1 in 5 teachers saying that they have been hit or there's been physical violence against them. So thank you, Gillian. Wow. That's another one. Tick off for you.
What can we just stay on that for 1 second, Hayden? I know we're going to go into politics very quickly, but it really did pique my interest when you mentioned that, because I did see that it was a survey. It was a teacher tap survey, I think, that they got that from, and 1 in 5 teachers saying they've been physically abused. There were some crazy numbers in there about seeing children fighting, seeing fights going on. It seems to be more and more prevalent. Do you have an opinion on why that might be? Right, like today, what I know we joked about Gillian saying that kind of thing, but that rhetoric isn't. I don't think this government are careful with their rhetoric. Let's say I don't think they necessarily watch what they're kind of demonstrating. But what do you think is causing that? Because it's a really big problem in that retention that we're talking about. Why would we bother staying if we're getting attacked?
Do you know? I really don't know. I think there's. I think there are lots of things that have added to it. So you've got children who are in a great deal of need. So you've got children who are hungry. Children who are living in houses that are not fit for purpose, or they are overcrowded. You've got children who are waiting and have waited maybe up to 2 years for a CAMS assessment. You've got families who are in crisis. You've got what's left over after COVID. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a million and one things, but a lot of the things are not what has happened to change, it's what has not happened that's caused the issues.
Yeah, big time.
Such a good point. Leading on from politics then, Hayden.
Yeah, well,
you got a little game, I heard.
I've got a little game for you.
Okay.
I thought you might want to play along with it because obviously, you've got something to say. I think about politics. You inspired me with your content, and I thought I'd make a little game. True or false? It's a true or false game.
Okay.
There's 4 statements. You've got to say true or false. It's a bit tricky, really tricky stuff.
Really
all
hard.
based on the government
Yeah.
and their involvement in education. And there's a link between the 4 questions. And if you can get the link at the end, then you win the mega prize.
I'm going to be the adjudicator.
We'll send you a new bucket with certain words on it. Yeah. So here's the first one. Ready? So true or false, please. Under Conservative leadership, teacher morale and retention rates have significantly improved due to effective policies and support.
Ooh, let me have a think about that one. I think that might be false.
Correct.
Yes. Well, how did you know? That's fantastic. Wow.
Oh, wow. 1 for 1. They get harder. Next one. The Conservative government's handling of school funding has led to adequate resources and infrastructures for all schools across the UK.
As someone who had to get a meter stick underneath her cabinet the other day to try and find pencils, I would have to say false.
Yeah, wow, you had a meter stick? Mine went years ago.
That wasn't
You had pencils to find?
Yeah. That's 2 for 2. 2 more questions, 2 more statements. The Conservative government's management of student debt and tuition fees has made higher education more accessible and affordable for all.
Right, well, as a parent of 2 children who've recently been through university, I would definitely say that is false.
Look at that. Wow.
Quick fact, I saw the highest student debt at the moment in the UK is over £200,000.
What, of one person?
Yeah, one person. And I was like, I forgot we became America. I can't wait for a healthcare system to go that way as well. Anyway, well done. Great. I'm doing fantastic.
Yeah,
This is hard quiz.
it's the last one, and then maybe you can get the link at the end of it.
I mean, it's such a good government. I don't understand. It's crazy.
It's crazy. The last one, the UK Conservative government successfully implemented their comprehensive plan to address the educational attainment gaps between richer and poorer students.
False. Without.
I mean, we're laughing, but we're going to cry in a minute.
Can you get the link?
I think the link might be that revolving door in the Department for Education where no one knows, the left hand doesn't know what their right hand is doing. It's the clean version.
Yes, absolutely. Well done. You succeeded in the game.
Well done.
Well done. Really tricky.
I get a sticker.
Yeah. You do get a sticker. We'll send you one in the post.
But it is windy, so we might get lost in transit. I don't know.
Serious question. Bring it back down to earth.
That's really cool.
Down to earth. Okay. No. That's it. We're serious now.
Okay.
We're moving on.
Yeah, go on.
The games are over. Like a teacher, when you make a joke in a class, and then you realise you've gone too far, and they're a bit like unruly, and then you think I've got to rein this in, and you instantly switch. Oh no, joke's over. Guys,
no.
You've got to understand when I've stopped joking, we're moving on. It's so mean, isn't it? Anyway, sorry. Do you think that if Labour get in the next election, do you think they will do a better job?
I don't. Do you know? That's really hard because I haven't read any of what their policies are properly for education. I mean, they can't do a worse job, can they?
Not sure they properly exist yet.
No. So, but I don't think they can do any worse.
Yeah, because I've always been. I'll be truthfully honest. I think I'm more anti this government than pro anything else. That's my current stance, and I'm very much for. I think as teachers, the reason the majority of us are not Conservative voters is because traditionally we're there to help people and we're there to help the less fortunate, and we want to put our arm around them and make sure they get a good education and everyone gets everything they deserve. But yeah, I don't know. I'm a bit not worried, but I'm not inspired. And you mentioned that you've not seen any of their policies yet, and I don't think there are many. I think what Labour are doing at the minute, and this is down to the awfulness of this government, is they're kind of just saying, we'll just wait then, because they know what's going to happen. No one's going to go and vote for them. So I don't know what happened. I don't know.
I actually saw a headline right before we started recording. I was looking at my phone, and I don't know much about it. I just saw the headline that was something to do with Labour saying that they will scrap the whole 30 days free childcare thing that the Tories are bringing out because they just don't think it's the right model.
What do you mean, 30 days?
30 hours, a week of the free childcare for younger children going to nursery and stuff. And I thought, and I just saw just underneath, I was thinking, well, that's going to cause backlash. Could have been propaganda. I don't know. But you just think, actually, I don't really know what Labour's all about at the moment. I don't know if they're going to be any better or not. Yeah, it's an awkward one. Anyway, moving on. Away from politics, I think. Because we've talked enough about that. Back to you, Mr. Smith, because a lot of people, I think, have come here to listen to you and find out a bit more about you. I will just say really quickly before I go on to a new topic. You did put out a post for us. We really appreciate this on Facebook, saying
lots of likes, loads of fans,
saying, "Hey, I'm going on a podcast. Check it out, guys. Ask me some questions and I'll answer on the podcast." Well, we had one. We had one comment, and I'm going to read it exactly word for word to you, and you can interpret what you think this means. And it just said, "When do we eat?"
Well, I think it might be because it's a play on your podcast title, Teach, Sleep, Repeat. And I think you eat whenever you can find the time. So I think it's usually lunchtime. Yeah, when you're trying to mark with one hand, sort out something behaviourally with another hand, go to the photocopier and hope that there's no queue. So yeah, I'm more importantly, it's when do you have a wee is the more important thing.
Yeah.
We change our podcast name. Teach, Sleep, We Repeat.
Eat when you can in brackets at the bottom. Yeah. Fantastic. I want to know what kind of teacher you are, because I feel like there's one of two. You're either a teacher who is adamant that at lunchtime, no, it's my lunchtime. I will take some time. I'm going to, no matter how busy I am, I'll eat my lunch. I'll have 40 minutes, sit there. Or you're a teacher that never leaves their room, like Dylan, and will just eat their lunch as they're marking with the idea of I'm going to go home a bit earlier. What kind of you?
I'm actually a combination of the two. So I tend to. So we get from 12:15 till 1:10, sort of ish. So I tend to work until about 5 to 1, and then I'll go and have that last 15 minutes, and I'll leave my room and go and eat somewhere else, whether that's the staff room or someone else's classroom or whatever. But
or your cupboard.
Yeah, no, there's too much rubbish in my cupboard in order for me to get there. So I tend to, but I will make a conscious effort to leave my room, because otherwise I'm probably have stayed in there over break or during assembly if I haven't had to go into assembly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't actually see the light of day, really.
Yeah. Isn't it mad that my natural reaction to you saying that you make sure you get 15 minutes is like, well done. That's well done. That's really good. It's terrible. It's objectively terrible. Like, we just don't take breaks as teachers.
Yeah, and I think that there is something sort of in the Human Rights Act that you're supposed to be able to have some sort of break, aren't you? And even Health and Safety at Work Act, you're supposed to have some break, but 15 minutes.
Yeah. But won't you just think of the kids? Think of the children. That's what everyone says. Don't just think of the kids. Why are you doing that?
It's culture, isn't it?
We do club. Just think of the kids.
All right. But teacher culture is like that, isn't it?
Leave him alone.
Yeah. Listen, if I'm allowed to gaslight one person on this world, it's him. And he loves it. It's fine.
Yeah, brilliant. Oh man. Anyway, so what I wanted to move on to, but I just got sidetracked there.
No. You're doing a club, mate.
I'm not doing a club.
I'm going to finish.
I'm not doing a club. What I wanted to move on to was just a bit more about you. And I want to bring it back around to you because you've been doing some shows recently, and I'd love to I don't know much about it. I've seen your Facebook posts, so could you just enlighten us a bit? What's going on with these shows? What's your aim with them? What are you up to?
But I mean, in the same way that I said, I did actually start doing Mrs. Smith by accident. I actually started to do stand-up by accident. I happened to have got an agent get me for my writing, because I thought the whole idea might be a good idea to try and sort of write a book or whatever.
Sure.
But the agent that I have actually is an agent for comedians who are mostly stand-up comedians. And in the summer 2023, they happened to have space at the Edinburgh Festival. They had a venue. They had somewhere that we could stay. And they said, do you fancy doing some Mrs. Smith shows? And I thought, well, I'm 58. No one's going to ask me that question ever again. So I'll say yes. So I had 4 shows, 45-minute shows of stand-up at the Edinburgh Festival. The first time I ever stood up was on the stage at Edinburgh. Don't do that. I mean, really.
That's unbelievable.
If you're ever going to do it, don't. And they'd all sold out beforehand, obviously, because people either wanted to see me crash and burn, which was a serious possibility, or they wanted just to see who I was, because we called it Mrs. Smith See Me. And actually, it worked for 45 minutes. And then I did a show last week. So I'm now going to take that show on tour.
Brilliant.
Sure.
So I've done a couple of shows in sort of south of London. And the one I did the other week, I did the 45-minute Edinburgh show, and then I did another 30 minutes, which was like work in progress, because the show that I'm then going to take around East Anglia is going to be an hour long. So I just wanted to work out what I was going to do in that. But honestly, if you can stand up for, I don't know, 6 hours a day in front of 8, 9, 10-year-olds who really don't want to be there, who aren't interested, some of them, in listening what you want to do, and some of them will actively try and stop you from doing it, you can deal with a room full of people who've chosen to be there with a couple of beers on board with paid money, you know.
I mean, yeah, you made it sound easy. I think,
yeah, I mean, you need your props for that. That's amazing.
I don't think I could do it. Genuinely, I think you've done an amazing job of that.
You couldn't.
Yeah, me specifically. I don't think I could. He could. He'd be great.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily for everybody, but I really enjoy doing it. So that's fine.
Yeah, no, it's not. And I think what I was going to ask you is, have you had a heckler yet? Because we deal with hecklers every day in our job, like multiple times. Every 2 minutes we have a heckler. Have you had one yet? And if not, do you kind of want one? Do you kind of want one, or do you not? Are you a comedian who's not going to want anyone shouting out?
Well, I do say at the start of my show, don't. And I say it with my teacher voice. If you're going to heckle, don't. And so far they haven't. So that's fine. If they do, I haven't told anybody in the past 35 years exactly what I think about them when they stop me from teaching. So by all means do it, because you're going to get both barrels.
Not in the classroom anymore, Mrs. Smith.
No, I don't have to filter my thought about you being silly.
She's talking to you, by the way.
I'm the heckler. It will be me. I'm going to come. I'm going to make sure. Make sure you see my bald head and you're like, it's that guy. I went on his podcast.
Yeah, I can't see after about the first 3 rows, I can't see anybody, which is really glorious, actually.
Anytime you get heckled, just guess and you go, your podcast crap, mate. Just say that.
Brilliant. Well, I don't want to make you reveal all of your good material, but would you mind sharing a story with us? Or just something from, I don't know, it doesn't have to be from your stand-up, but just something funny, because you've got so many funny stories to share every day on Facebook. I'd love to hear a bit of Mrs. Smith.
I'm trying to think. Something that I don't use in my stand-up. Oh, well, I mean, it's just the things that kids say to me all day long. I mean, the other day, I was genuinely walking all right, I'll tell you what, I will tell you. We talked about meter sticks earlier, didn't we?
Yeah.
So we spoke about meter sticks. And I would never trust anybody who, if you left them alone in a room with a couple of meter sticks, didn't either pretend to sword fight or use them as lightsabers with the sound, right? So I am, and I'm quite. That's fine. I haven't got a problem with that. If that's what people want to do, that's what they want to do. I did once have a child who left the classroom, went to go and get something, perfectly legitimately went to go and do something. Came back having found 4 meter sticks, and they skied across the back of my classroom.
What, 2 on the feet?
Yeah,
and
2 on the feet, 2 as ski poles across the back of the classroom. And I just looked at them and said, well, you better ski back out again. So someone opened the door and they just skied back out.
I love that you carried on the skiing.
The idea of them going to pick them up and stop walking, and you're like, no, you've skied in. You're going to ski out
again.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Meter sticks. There's something special about meter sticks. Dylan's revel in taking the mick out of me in long episodes ago, because last year when I was losing my mind a bit, I've got one of those meter sticks. The ones that are hollow. They're not just the wide ones we can actually draw.
Yeah.
They're just the ones that are hollow. And I used it. I reckon I can one up the meter stick use here. I was using it as a pretend blow dart in maths, and I was really losing it this year. And what the game was this. The children would sit at their desks, and I wanted them to match their times tables. They wouldn't. They were very reluctant to do that. And so what happens was, they were in the jungle. I was a hunter, and I'd blow dart them with my pretend blow dart, and if they didn't answer the times table question within 5 seconds, they had to pass out on the
He did lose his job, if you're wondering. Yeah, he's not a teacher anymore.
Oh man, I look at that is mad. That was mad. At the time, I was like, no, it's just what gets them, entertained. But I don't know, maybe it was a bit mad. So there you go. Don't use that in your stand-up.
No.
She wouldn't. Don't worry, mate. she wasn't good.
Well, it might be as an example of what not to do, actually.
Yeah. How not to use the meter stick.
I was talking to this unfortunate guy. He was telling me all about his meter stick usage. My gosh. Right. That is unbelievable. I'm going to say one more time to everyone who's listening, if they haven't found your Facebook page, they simply have to, because I don't know, I've heard of you. I'm not going to lie, I didn't follow you for a long time, but I heard of you a long time ago, and I knew of Mrs. Smith, and I knew you shared these things on Facebook, and every time I go into your page, I feel like I can sit there for honestly about 20 minutes just scrolling. Do you ever get a writer's block or anything like that, like creative block? Because obviously you teach, that takes a lot of mind scope. I mean, I feel like I can't really do anything after I've taught for a day, never mind sit there and be witty. Does it come naturally to you, or because you seem to post nearly every day, and is it just, there you go, it's just what I want to say, or do you have to sit and really think about it sometimes?
No, it's a deliberate choice on my part to post every single day. So every single day for the past 6.5, 7 years, I have posted something every single day. And that's partly to sort of exercise my writing muscle. So I do that. I leave myself voice notes. So I do make a voice note, or I put a note on my phone when something sort of catches my attention. I mean, you might not believe it, but actually I can be quite quiet sometimes. And I'm, those people, the quiet ones are the worst. So I'm the one who's listening. I'll listen to a child's conversation, or I'll listen to what adults are saying, and I just hear things, and I'll just make a note of that. And everything that I write is true. It's happened at some point in time. I don't make things up.
That's cool.
But I tend to have a little bank of things, and then of course, Gillian will do something. And I tend to write letters to Gillian at the weekend, because I need sort of, the venom needs to be stored up a bit. So that's what I tend to do it like that. No, I don't. Touch wood at the moment, I don't. But then I think people's funny bones are different, and I mean, I've always been quite sort of. I like words, and I think I use words quite well, and I sort of put them together, and it seems to work for me. I mean, and I know that's really annoying, because it's like kids saying I can't do maths or I can do maths, and I can do funny, I think.
You can. So if you're waiting for confirmation that you can do funny. Sorry.
Validation. I mean, that's.
I can do funny.
Just thinking out loud, I think I probably can do funny.
Yeah. No. I was just thinking. Dylan asked earlier about your class knowing whether you do this kind of stuff, and obviously they don't really. Hopefully not. Do the people at your school know? Like, does everyone? Does your head teacher know? Does everyone kind of know this, or do you just walk around like Batman, like no one knows who you are?
Most of the staff in my school, most do. I don't tell them. Other people sometimes tell them. Did you know this is what she does? Yeah, my head knows, has always known, and also the chair of governors knows, and they're quite happy with it. And I think they're happy with it because the children are never the butt of the joke. So the children are the most important thing, and I make that really clear. The people who are the butt of the joke tends to be the adults who've responded to what the children have done in a particular way, or if children have done something, it tends to be. Oh, I don't know. Like the other time when I was saying to a child, "Why are you cartwheeling down? Why are you doing forward rolls down the corridor? Because last time you told me I couldn't cartwheel." And that was my own. I had said you can't cartwheel down the corridor, so they then thought, "Well, that's all right. I can do a forward roll." It was my silly thought. I should have said something different in the way I had asked him, rather than that question. So that reflected on me and not on them.
Yeah. I think because of those stories, they're like, the way you write, it does something quite cool in my opinion. Like if someone asks me what your page is about, I generally say it's like brutal realism of education for a start. And I think the fact that you've confirmed that it's all true, I think that's part of the reason it's successful, because it is actually just real.
Yeah,
but you also, because you post every day and it's usually something silly that's happened or whatever, you kind of accidentally also, I don't know if it's accidentally or not, but show how teaching is actually a really great job as well, in terms of every day is different. You can have a laugh every day, even if the powers that be just make are trying to make the job as terrible as possible. And that, I think, kind of captures what I really like about your page. And I imagine what the other 70,000 people that follow you like about your page as well.
Yeah, I mean, someone said to me the other day, and I hadn't really thought about it actually, because they come to the show and they were talking to me afterwards, and they said actually the page is about being funny, but the page is also about people's mental health, because the bucket that we have on a Friday, shall I say, is about putting things in the bucket, but it's also about, and I didn't really think about this, that she said to me, it's about ending the week and beginning the weekend and getting rid of that and giving yourself free time and mental space and everything else. So I think that has happened accidentally. I haven't constructed that in any particular way. So yeah, I think that's also why it works, really.
No, it's fantastic. I just wanted to finish, Mrs. Smith, on my favourite story that I read of yours from Facebook recently. So we'll end here. But this story, I've got to tell it because honestly, I sat there cracking up, and because I thought it started off really heartwarming, and the end's really funny. So it was just a post you did. You'll remember as soon as I start saying it, and it was about a group of children always come back once you've taught them. They always come back and say hello and say how you are. Want to come and see you. Like, and one of your colleagues said to the children, "Wow. I mean, you must really like Mrs. Smith to keep coming back so often." And they just responded and said, "Oh, I guess so. I was just checking if she was still alive."
Oh, that's so
and
good.
it just cracked me up. And I thought, that's teaching right there. You have made a really good bond with those kids. It's amazing for us when they come back and see us. We laugh and joke about teaching. We moan, we cry, whatever. But we love the kids. That's why we do it. And guess what? Not only is it lovely, but it's funny as well. And I think your page, Mrs. Smith, I just want to finish off by saying it just sums everything up. And we're really big fans of yours, and we really appreciate your time tonight.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on.
Honestly, it's my pleasure. Entirely my pleasure. I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoy the Easter holidays. Have a lovely break. And plenty of... I was about to swear then. I can't say it. Just go and check out the page.
We went this far.
Yeah, I nearly did. I was about to use some of your glossary terms, which I will not.
Go and look at them, guys.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.